guys, what's up? It's still me, Rajiv and Piyush on Rebel Radio. You might have thought that we've disappeared from planet Earth, but we were, as you can see, upgrading our systems. We got a brand new Roadcaster Pro, some mics, some green screen, some lights right here. So we are back with a bang and we'll be getting bigger than ever because we have so many things to discuss. We'll be starting this week with a lot of new stuff that just happened. Obviously, Anshul Jubli is going to be right in the center of it. So Piyush, we are back. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that we got a ton of sponsorship money. That's why we went in some major upgrades. As you can see we have some professional mic setting, the Roadcaster, as I said, and the green screen. So I think we are a professional podcast now.
Yes, I think we are.
And I hope that you guys have missed us.
I hope so too, because I know all the people who've supported us so far. We really appreciate your support. Keep doing that. We would want to obviously bring out some really good content for you guys from the MMA fraternity, and also we cover a lot of grappling techniques and all the good stuff. But again, we'll also love to have guests. And if you guys are interested in coming up and sitting with us and chatting with us, just let us know and we'll make that happen. But Piyush, what a week it has been for Indian MMA. I mean, let's start with the elephant in the room. Obviously, Anshul Jubli becoming the second Indian to sign a UFC contract.
Yeah, and probably the only legit one, because the first guy who started got caught in doping.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even consider him. But Anshul Jubli, what a terrific performance, man. And we have watched his career literally start from the bare beginnings and to achieve what nobody conceived before was possible. An Indian fighter in UFC, in the main stage in Las Vegas.
Yes.
That's incredible, man. Just watching this guy rise from a very humble background. I think you know more about him than me, but we both have had our moments where we got to know him. Would you like to tell your fans, how did he start?
Because Anshul came from Uttarakhand to cross train, I think, quite a few years ago, maybe 2015, 16, maybe even 17. I'm not sure about the dates, but he came in as a boxer. So I remember we training together in jiu-jitsu and wrestling. But again, Anshul was a different breed altogether. He came in very humble, as you might also know. Very humble guy, would always put his head down, keep shut, and just train like a beast. And from there, we've just seen him rise and rise and rise. And today, he is undoubtedly the biggest name in Indian MMA, and so well deserved also, because he didn't fight a lot of amateur bouts. Then he was signed by the MFN, where he just smashed or dominated through his opponents. Yeah, he went from nothing to 5-0. Then obviously the road to UFC happened, and he beat the first guy very emphatically, if I may call it so. And right now, with our friend from Indonesia, Jeka, I mean, nobody would actually be able to doubt that he is there to stay now. Probably all the haters who've been calling out on his accent, I think it's time for you guys to get acquainted with that accent, because this guy is going to be speaking a lot on that mic. So yeah, so Jubli, what a beautiful human being, and also a fantastic athlete. So I think we, Rebel Radio, Rebel MMA, all of us from everywhere, we would like to congratulate him and wish him all the best for the future. Hopefully he gets to the top 10 fighters in the UFC in his division and goes on to win the championship belt with time. So that would be something. So what do you say?
I think that UFC needs to really build him up, because he's such a huge prospect. His fundamentals are solid. He has a great grappling based style, which is very essential to sustain a long-term career. And they should just give him opponents who he can build upon, and then as he improves, he gets to the next level and the next level. That's how you build stars, right?
Yes.
And with a market like India, which Anshul opens up for UFC, I think UFC will have to play their cards right. And I think Dana White understands it. That's why even the post fight conference that he did, he mentioned that he recognizes the kind of potential market India is. We have so many MMA fans now.
Yes.
And what I want to talk about is what an impact it will have on the fighters who have been training in India, who have been struggling, who have been trying to make the ends meet. And you saw that 50K performance of the night bonus, like that's life-changing money for someone. So all these things will attract a lot of fighters to train hard more, to persevere. Maybe they are training in the Combat Academy, Nagaland. Maybe they are training in some gym at Mumbai. Maybe they are training in Delhi here at Rebel or
maybe
at other
Mysore,
gyms.
maybe
Mysore, all these small places, Uncle Bister's Academy, there are so many aspiring fighters over there. So now it just opens up floodgates where all these fighters can dream of making it to UFC, because earlier it was like, oh, what's the highest ceiling that you can achieve? And it would be like one championship, maybe different organization,
maybe
Brave.
even an MFN contract.
Yes,
as a matter of fact.
MFN contract was probably the biggest one for the Indian fighters, but now they can dream of going multinational. They can go to a place, a brand like UFC. So I think that has been the most positive impact that Anshul has brought, and I hope we can see the ripple effects in the future where more and more fighters from India, and we know that we have a lot of talent over here. We just need to nurture them right, point them in right direction, and we'll make it.
And also it opens up, like you said, the floodgates for academies to sustain now. We
Right.
have a hero to look forward to.
Yeah.
Now it's suddenly a sport that is cool enough for Indians to, dabble with. Because, yeah, obviously we as two coaches in an MMA institute, it's still difficult to find people and convince them to join mixed martial arts as a way to fitness. But hopefully with Anshul winning the contract now, and hopefully with time he will start rising up the ranks in his division, and that's going to open the floodgates for all the MMA academies in the country.
Did you think that the UFC had any bias towards him going into the fight?
110%.
Because the commentary was not very positive about him
Yeah.
initially.
Everybody was rooting for Jeka. Even the betting odds were against him. He was 105 plus 105.
Was Anshul the favorite?
No,
He was not the
he
favorite.
was the underdog.
Okay.
Yeah, so if Anshul would have won, they were no minus 105.
So he was
yeah,
the
underdog. So I think, like you said, Bisping and all these commentators were rooting for Jeka to actually hammer the wits out of Anshul.
I think they bought the antics that Jeka was bringing. He was
Maybe.
making faces. He was trying to act all funny throughout, whereas Anshul was like just zoned in.
Yes.
And I think they missed that part. But now hopefully they recognize who the guy is and what he can do in an octagon. He absolutely dominated in Mall, and let's talk about that fight as well.
I
for
think
a
it
little
was
bit.
it was a late stoppage also, because like
Yes.
we were discussing, it was biased towards Jeka, and I think the referee was trying to wait to step in and stop the fight for at least longer than a minute, because
Yeah.
he was being hammered
For
quite
2
early.
minutes straight,
For 2
yeah.
minutes straight, he was on mount, then he was getting elbowed and hammered. He even turned towards the back. But I think at the end, the referee thought that this is going to look ridiculous, and because it's on an international
It
broadcast.
was Mark Goddard, like one of the
Mark,
most
yeah.
sound ref, who
Yeah.
would have stopped the fight earlier, because at one point he was in the gift wrap and he was just getting pummeled by
because
Anshul.
there was
It
no
was-
way he was getting out of that. So I think it was a late stoppage, even though Jeka didn't sustain any fatal injuries or even deep injuries. But
Thankfully so.
yeah, it was over 30 seconds
Yeah.
prior to the stoppage, in my opinion.
I think they gave him a long time to survive, but he was not getting out of that position. And we have seen Anshul do the same exact thing in MFN as well, where he would just take people down, mount them, and then just go for. He also went for an arm triangle in the first round.
Yes.
And the cool point of that round was when Jeka just exploded out and escaped. He just stood up, pointed at Jeka, and he was like, "Hey, I got you once. I'll do this again."
Oh, yeah,
Something like
that
that.
was intense, because he is bringing in the swag also, which
Yeah.
is absolutely necessary in a sport like MMA. I mean, you could be the best fighter in the world, but if you don't have the swag, you don't make enough. You don't have a fan following that Conor has, or even bigger athletes like O'Malley has, because they have such swag. Because at the end of the day, we are all brands trying to sell a product. So I think that way Anshul is making a mark for himself. And this time, like I said, all the haters talking about his accent, you guys will have to start getting used to it, because Anshul is going to be holding that mic and saying Namaste UFC India is here for the
I
longest time.
can't wait for Anshul to just start selling T-shirts. India is here.
Yeah, I know.
That has
India is
become a
here.
catchphrase.
I think that's gonna be his catchphrase. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Because a lot of people in the comment sections were like, "Yeah, India is here finally. India is
Yes,
here." So
yeah, I think-
that's something cool. I think about mixed martial arts or fighting in general. That if you say a phrase enough, and if it is, even if it's not catchy, sometimes it's cringe. It will start like a following of its own. It will take a life of
become
its
a
own.
buzzword in itself.
Yeah.
I mean, now I think Anshul Jubli is synonymous with, like you said, India is here. Or India
I saw it on the hoarding as well back in Uttarakhand and in Vegas as well. When they had put in the hoarding, it said "Namaste UFC, India is here," and that was pretty cool.
So that's what happens. So do not judge a person. I think we all should not, even including me and you, we should not be judging people on their accents, how they look. Let's judge people on how they fight. And Anshul Jubli had a dominating performance. And congratulations to you, Anshul, once again. It was my privilege to have known you. I hope you become the mega star that you are supposed to become, and it's only upwards from here. So I think it just boom. I mean, it has put India on the MMA roadmap finally.
Let's also in the same vein express our thanks to his academy, Cross Train and Soma Fight Club,
Yes.
where I think they had a right team which guided him in the direction where he wanted to be. Because in a lot of other teams, these talents just wilt sometimes. So it's good that his coaches were mature enough to point him in the right direction and take him where he is right now. And obviously his talent took care of the rest of the business.
Because Anshul did not want to trade punches with this guy.
Yeah.
He just went for the clinch, took him down, and dominated.
Yeah.
Which
Great
Pawan
game plan.
unfortunately could not do in the semi-finals.
And Jeka is not bad. He had like 2
He's not
knockouts
bad.
back to back, and I think that's the reason why UFC was planning to like promote him more a little bit, a tad bit more. I wouldn't say too much, but probably they thought he's more exciting for the division.
Maybe.
He's a little bit brash, and UFC always is on a lookout for people like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the end, it all ended well for Anshul. So great job, man.
Yeah. Team Anshul all the way, and Team India all the way. So yeah, I mean that was the highlight. But again, we also had a legend retiring this week. Yeah. So
Fedor, the last emperor, Emelianenko.
I've not followed him much, to tell you honestly. I've just seen this dude who just comes in very disinterested inside the octagon.
Yeah.
People as
The poker face.
the poker
Fedor.
face. I don't even know if it's a poker. I think that's his real face.
It's a Fedor face.
It's
It's
a
a Russian face.
It's a Russian face. He just comes in, looks very disinterested. The other guy is showboating with big muscles. Then they touch gloves, and boom, he just puts them to sleep. Or
Yeah.
knocks. I mean, what a legend.
Fedor, I think the part why Fedor had this cult-like personality and the following was obviously his talent, his striking, his devastating ground and pound, his brutal knockouts, his submissions, but also like he was a man of not a very big and intimidating stature, but he would be going against these big roided monsters in an era of pride where
Yes.
everything was legal, soccer kicks, whatever, everything on the ground was legal. And it was a brutal fighting back then in pride. And it was like when I was probably 1 or 2 year old, he was killing these monsters in the late 90s, in the early 2000s. And finally, we get to see him retire. Not on a great note, unfortunately. Van Bader knocked him out. But what a great journey! What a great journey! And these stalwarts of MMA are the one who have paved the way for a guy like Anshul, for a guy like Connor, for all these new mega stars. They put in the work when MMA was relatively unknown. Like people used to hate MMA; they used to think it's human cockfighting. So a guy like Fedor has the highest of place in the history, probably one of the best heavyweights of all time. And a lot of people make the comment, oh, but he never fought in UFC. I think UFC tried to get him for the longest time, but he just wouldn't buzz. Maybe he did not like the business that UFC offered him. The things that happens behind curtains.
A fighter
Nobody
is a
knows that.
fighter, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
just because you do not belong to a promotion doesn't take your legacy away.
And he
from
fought the best UFC fighters of that time as well. Of those that I think he has beaten like 4 UFC champions.
Yes.
There was Nogueira, tons of different fighters that he beat, and I think it was a legendary career. His fight with, if you haven't seen his fight with Krokop, go and watch that fight in Pride. Man, an absolute beatdown, an absolute. Um, it's a great fight. It's a great fight. Like it's a good back and forth, and they both get bloodied, get their face swollen, but they fight like warriors. And back in the day in Japan, that was so huge.
Yeah, Japan has always been a crazy country when it comes to hosting these kind of tournaments. No rule sets like how the UFC was created. I mean, no rule sets. Just come and do whatever you want to do. But yeah, we will miss his presence. I mean, like I said, I don't follow him, but I mean, I've seen him for the longest time. So we wish him a fantastic retired life. I hope his son will be carries his legacy forward. But having said that,
Does his son fight?
I think so. Yes, I've seen his
I
son.
don't know that.
So I think his son was talking about something. So just something that I saw on Insta or something.
What I really liked was the way they felicitated him right after the fight. They had, and I think Ariel Helwani shared the picture, and Bellator also shared the picture. In the ring, they had all these older MMA legends like Enzo Gracie. There was Scott Coker himself, Fedor, all these fighters from the past. I would just bring out the picture because I want to just name some of the legends of the sport that were there. Yeah, here it is. So I think probably we'll put this picture out for you later. We had Benson Henderson, we had Chuck Liddell, we had Horace Gracie, Rampage Jackson, Chael Sonnen, Josh Barnett. So many legends of the sport all uniting. It was a great moment for the sport in general. Matt Hughes was there. Who else? Yeah, all these guys. Man, it was a great picture. And to bid someone farewell like this, a legend, it was very befitting of.
I think that's the only way fighters should go out. He's been entertaining us for the last 23 years. When did he start? 2000, did he?
I think he started in 2000, yeah.
Yeah, so 23 years he's been entertaining us.
And he was undefeated for, I think, 28 fights in a row, which is like parallel to what Khabib did, 29-0.
I know. I mean, so yeah, thank you so much, Fedor. Thank you so much. We were honored to have witnessed some of your fights. Hope you have a fantastic retirement, and you go on to build your legacy through your sons or your students. But yeah, what's going to happen next week though? I mean, it's to UFC 284. I mean, it's everything that all of us have been waiting for. Makhachev versus Volkanovski down under.
So first of all, I'm not super happy with the way UFC has promoted this event. The card looks super weak apart from the main fight. So there's not a lot of interest among fight fans for the other fights. But yeah, this fight is going to be between the current pound for pound number 1, that's Alex Volkanovski, versus pound for pound number 2, that's Islam Makhachev. And all we have been seeing on UFC's page is this power slap bullshit thing. So I don't know what Dana White is thinking. Why isn't he promoting this fight, this huge fight, this once in a lifetime fight where people are going in a different division and then fighting? I would say once in a year now because it happens almost every year. But it's still a big fight, and it's a great stylistic clash where Islam, we all know, he has that same signature Khabib style of grinding and wrestling, whereas Volkanovski is as tough as they come. He just never gives up in any position.
I don't think so. I don't think anybody can outstrike him. I mean, in this featherweight division, he's basically smashed everybody.
Striking is great. Like he finished Max Holloway in that third fight so cleanly. Like Max Holloway was lost in that fight, and Max used to say, "I'm the best boxer in the UFC."
I mean, his hands are like lightning. You can't see them coming till it burns you.
Absolute dynamite.
So yeah, this is going to be an interesting fight. I mean, what is it called?
Arena.
The
cage.
I mean, the cage or the hula hoop surrounding this fight is kind of bleak, like we said. But I was just watching a documentary last night, and they are talking about Dagestan versus Russia. They're talking about
Dagestan versus Australia.
My apologies. Dagestan versus Australia. So it's going to be a great fight. And also, what I didn't like about this was it was made too easy for Makhachev to challenge Volkanovski because he is the featherweight champion, whereas Islam is from a different division.
But the fight is just for Islam's belt, so it's not Volkanovski belt that's on the line. I think Volkanovski is gaining weight and going to the 155 division.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then I think it's going to be like we were discussing a very stylistically different game plan for both of them. This guy's going to go try and maul Volk to the ground, but we've also seen Volk cannot actually be mauled.
Yeah.
He's comes out of submissions.
He has Craig Jones in his corner.
Yes, he has Craig
who
Jones
is the
in his
submission
corner.
specialist
And also he's
himself.
working with some amazing. I'm forgetting the names. The Wick brothers, who's been training his wrestling at Banthao in Phuket. So yeah, I mean it is once in a lifetime opportunity to watch two titans clash. Islam is always calling this guy short and small, and he thinks he doesn't have the power to knock him out. But I think
Islam commented that, brother, you are coming to wrestle me, but Australia has no wrestling, which was pretty funny. And Volk was like, hey, I'm Australian national champion. And then Islam said, but Australia does not have an Olympic wrestling team, so I don't care who you are.
the banter between these guys are funny because Islam knows how to market himself. He says a few things in his very thick Dagestani accent, but it gets through to you. It makes you laugh and it makes you scared at the same time because he is a monster right now. You know, so I think I'm sure all the fight fans already know about this fight. Let's watch it together, and after that we'll discuss it. But the main question is
Who do you got?
For me, I want Volk to win.
Okay, so you are picking Team Volk.
Yeah.
I think I'll stick to the Dagestani team.
Yeah.
Because, look, however you train for this Dagestani team, Volk is preparing to match his wrestling, and I think these guys have done this since they were like 2 to 3 years old.
Yeah.
So you cannot beat a guy in his own game. I don't care how much you prepare. And Volk's whole thing is, I'll keep the distance, I'll try to punch him, I'll try to get up when he takes me down. Yeah, good luck trying on a guy who specifically has trained all his life to kill that kind of style.
But again, Volk has one connection because Islam has honestly not fought someone like Volk before. Because like yesterday, the beautiful documentary was talking about how he was always a small guy. He was a rugby guy. Always thought that he
was not a small guy though. He was a very big guy when he was playing rugby.
He was just a thick guy, but he's not very
like
tall.
height-wise.
Yeah, height-wise. And every year or every time he's wanted to fight, even before he signed with the UFC, he's only fought bigger guys. So he said, I didn't have a problem. You bring the fight to me, and I'll bring it to you as much or at least into 2. So,
but do you think Volk has fought a guy who has been so grappling heavy? I think it was Brian Ortega, the last guy, but Brian's jiu-jitsu is not, I mean, grappling is not as sharp as, his wrestling is not as sharp as...
Obviously, his top pressure, and Ortega likes to finish from the bottom.
Yeah.
But Makhachev is going to bring...
Makhachev is going to just maul him, in my opinion. But again,
I hope not, because it's going to be an interesting fight. But if Volk can connect a flurry and take Makhachev down, maybe it's going to be a TKO. Who knows? Let's see.
Oh, you are betting that Makhachev is going to get taken down by Volk?
Nobody's going to go to the judges. This fight is not going to the judges.
That's true. Yeah.
It's going to be a KO, TKO, or submission.
I think Volk is just going to realize what getting held by a Dagestani wrestler feels like. Once he gets to the ground, tries standing up, it is going to be a long day for Volk. That's my prediction. Let's move on to the next big exciting stuff that we have in store for you, and that is Strangle Nationals is happening.
Yes.
We are back.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, but before that, we're going to take a short break and get back.
Alright guys, we are back from the break, and now we have a very exciting news to share with you, and that is that Strangle is back, and this time it's even bigger. We are going to host Strangle Nationals, and Rajiv, take it away from here.
So Strangle Nationals is going to be the biggest tournament, submission grappling tournament in the country. We promised you we would come to all your cities last year. In 9 months, we visited 5 cities, and we told you that we're going to pay the athletes, we're going to take care of you, and we did. Keeping our promises forward, This time, Strangle is going to be held in Delhi NCR. We've just booked a fantastic venue for you guys, and there will be prize money, obviously. But again, for the pro fighters, listen up. This time, the pro division winner is going to be flown to Singapore. He's going to be the pro fight is going to be flown to Singapore, and we will also get his smooth comp done for him, and he will be fighting the ADCC trials. So a lot of people have been promising you.
Applause cue, let me find that.
That's
This
the
one.
one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take it one more time, guys. Digest it, because we together have been discussing that we need to change the sport and get it to the next level. And the next level, obviously, is to have an ADCC trials winner. And we can only have a winner if we go there and actually fight. So this time, the pro division winner will be given the plane ticket, that is to and fro from Singapore, from his choice of destination. We will also buy his entry into ADCC trials, and from there it will be your journey forward. But yeah, please keep that in mind. So sign up in hordes. We will be announcing the brackets and the prize monies soon for the other divisions. Like I said, there will be 5 divisions for men, 1 women's division. We will also have kids division depending on the kind of interest that people show. We'll obviously have the pro division, and we also want to have 2 super fights. So it's going to be massive. The venue has been booked. It is absolutely air conditioned, and you guys will love it. So please start your training camp now, because we are coming to get your grappling game up. So what is this going to do to the Indian grappling team, according to you?
I mean, as you always say before every strangle, that we are Team India as a whole, and the next, after Anshul Jubli's UFC entry, the next thing which remains is
well said,
somebody showing up to ADCC from India. And we don't only aspire for ADCC trials winner, we also aspire someone to go and actually kill it at ADCC championship. So trials will be a great start, and I think that we have talents building up in the country in order to do that. It will probably not take long time, it's just a matter of time actually now. So this initiative which we have planned for the Strangle winner, the Pro Division winner, to give them an all expenses paid journey to the Singapore, where the trials are going to be held probably in November, I suppose, at the end of this year. So that gives them a lot of time to prepare for the trials, as well as not worry about, oh, will I be able to make it to the trials? Will I be able to pay So that will clearly sort it out. So please compete in high numbers if you are interested in the pro division and winning and going and representing India in the trials. And I hope this just galvanizes our Indian Jiu-Jitsu community as a whole, where everyone comes under one roof, competes, gives it their best, and as I said, it looks absolutely fantastic. It's a big space, it's a giant air-conditioned hall, given that in April it will be peak of the Delhi summers, and we don't want you to get roasted, dehydrated, things like that. So guys, it's gonna be great day of grappling, Strangle Nationals. It doesn't get bigger than that. We really appreciate that we have built this brand with your support. And now, as soon as we announced it on our page, there were so many people who were asking about, and there were so many inquiries about the event itself. So please do register as soon as possible. Do not wait till the last moment, because it will just increase the money that you need to pay, essentially, because it's the early bird that's the cheapest, and then it just keeps getting more expensive. So our entry fee is also very nominal. We want everyone to be able to afford it, right? So we don't want to price it at some big number and give you nothing in return. So guys, once again, Strangle Nationals, I think the date is out, right?
The date is not out, but we are revealing it here. It's going to be April
29th?
Yes, it's going to be April 29th in Gurgaon. We will share the details by tomorrow or Thursday maximum. So that's the biggest dream. So yeah, a big shout out to all the teams so far who've been competing regularly and supporting our small little endeavor towards making India a fantastic grappling country. So thank you very much. So that was Strangle for you, but you've also talked about a weird subject called UFC Slapfest.
Power slam.
What the hell is that?
It's probably Dana White's extreme kink, if I may call it. This guy, right before the show initiated, was in news for slapping his wife, and that thing which happened. Everyone knows about it now, so we can talk about it. But power slap, man, is this where the evolution of humans as a society has landed us, where we are trying to slap each other and knock each other out? I mean, I don't think so. They call it fighting, but I don't think it is
How is it fighting?
any kind of fighting involved in this, because the first rule of fighting is that you need to defend yourself. And I think I've read this point all across the MMA community that there's no defense involved in this. You are just what do you call it? Just पुतले को क्या कहते हैं?
A mannequin.
A mannequin standing right there and taking slaps. So it's like I cannot fathom how he could even conceive the idea.
He did not conceive the idea. He is writing behind it because I think it's got a lot of potential to become the biggest thing in the world. I think
It's not. I don't think the numbers are that great. He's just justifying it because every comment section that they post about Power Slap is filled with people ridiculing him. And we have seen some of his responses also where he's acting extremely arrogant and saying you don't know what you're talking about, the numbers on this are huge. But again, are we doing things just for a number? Why don't we become like a dark web fighting show, fantasy show kind of thing where you're giving people machetes and knives and asking them to kill each other for just numbers? So this does not make sense at all. There is no skill involved in this. Anyone who can take a slap or give a slap can do this.
I think so. I think it's just a way to concuss people and get them CTs at a very
And for what money? For what money? Probably $500, $1,000.
It doesn't really matter because every time you hit a slap, I've seen people just go down. It's like eating a punch on your head. Once you eat a punch on your head, you're not allowed to fight for the next 6 to 9 months.
Yeah.
So these guys are doing
If
this.
you get knocked out,
yeah,
right?
if you get knocked out, so it's the same thing as getting knocked out by a punch. It's just the only difference is it's going to slap you, and they give you a swimming noodle that you hold behind your back, and just pray to God that you do not pass out. Where is the technique in that?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. I think Dana White, with the kind of money that he has made, I don't know. I mean, he's just trying to justifying things.
But here's what I really do not like about this, and which gives an indication that how complicit. Like last time when we were talking about, we discussed how the state athletic commissions and UFC go hand in hand, where you were like, yeah, they are definitely in bed together, whereas I was like, probably there is a separation. But now sanctioning of this event clearly shows us how closely intertwined they are, right?
I think it's all about money.
It's all about money. I think Dana paid them enough money because that Nevada, I think it's the Nevada State Athletic Commission which sanctioned this. They do not even sanction the bare knuckle boxing, thinking it too violent.
Bare knuckle boxing, at least two people are fighting with
At least they can defend themselves.
Yes.
Here people are, as I said, a mannequin standing and getting punched.
That's ridiculous. So Dana White, I hope you start thinking better and stop this nonsense because a lot of people's lives could be at risk. You know, somebody could be knocked out and just not wake up from that slumber because it is dangerous. Imagine holding a noodle behind your back and just praying to God that you do not get knocked out. How is that even relevant to you being tough? I mean, some people can stand being hit by a train every once in a while. Doesn't mean we'll start a sport. A lot of people have.
Probably that's the next idea that is.
A lot of people survive accidents. A lot of people survive fires. So next time we cannot have two people just run through fire and see who gets burnt or not. So I think it's a ridiculous idea. I agree with you. I agree with everyone who's talking about how shitty it is.
What's the sad side is that watching pros of the past like Forrest Griffin being the referee or the officiating staff who are actually standing behind these dumb idiots
so they can just
catch them before they hit the ground. Why couldn't you just put a cushion there? Why do you need to have a legend of the sport like Forrest Griffin do the job of holding someone who is doing involved in some shit like slap fighting. So it's like
ridiculous. I think the next big idea for you is look at Russia. There should be a tag team championship MMA bouts. Five on five.
Basically lynching.
Yeah, basically lynching. I mean, that's a better idea. So, Dana White, I know you are the kingmaker right now in the MMA world, but I think you've overcrossed your path this time. So I'm sorry.
Power slaps
Power
sucks.
slap sucks big time. So yeah, let's talk about UFC Fight Pass, bro. Fight Pass has changed things for us because
It's funny how now we'll go from trashing Dana White to actually praising UFC once again.
no, I mean there are things.
Yeah.
I mean we're just calling a spade a spade. A lot of people don't enjoy that. We've known from
Right.
the past experiences. Our job as people who have the mic and to whom people actually give us the ears. Our job is to just
Be honest about things.
bluntly be honest about it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But ADCC Fight Pass, what a way to just treat us this year. Flow grappling, this should be a lesson for you for making your membership so high. Now everybody's moving on to UFC Fight Pass.
Yes. And I like that they're in contract for the next 2 years where we'll have all the trials that happens and everything on Fight Pass for just a $10 subscription, $9.99. Whereas Flow Grappling, first of all, we cannot get a monthly subscription.
Yes.
Second, the yearly annual subscription is like I think
$150.
I think more than that, $160, $170, which is insane for someone who is practicing jiu-jitsu. Let's say you are a white belt, you are new to jiu-jitsu, you want to watch jiu-jitsu. Are you willing to spend that kind of money on an annual subscription? I don't think so. And secondly, this service, like this site, for the longest time, people have been asking them, begging them to have a better interface. And their site is just so difficult to use. And even on a subscription platform like that, they will have ads. So what's the point of a subscription? If Netflix starts showing you ads tomorrow, will you go and watch their content?
You would get back Dish TV.
Exactly. So Flow Grappling, all in all, as a brand, was not a very popular one. People are really enjoying that. Now the ADCC has moved on to the Fight Pass. Hopefully they put on a better show. Hopefully they have no delays this time around.
Yes.
And they just produce a better content on a better content producing website. And I think Fight Pass is great in terms of grappling now because they have additional shows like Polaris, they have Fury Grappling, they have Eddie Bravo Invitationals,
EBI, yes.
and now they have started something called UFC Fight Pass Invitationals, in which Gordon just fought Nicky Rod. So all these shows are really good for the future of grappling. So again, this time, thank you Dana White for helping promote grappling
Yes.
and by taking ADCC under your wing. But stop with the power snap shit.
Yeah, so I think that also brings us to the seven-figure salary that Gordon Ryan just got. So that also changes things for a lot of grapplers. See, we are sitting in India. If you are listening to us from the US, you may think that $150 is not a lot of money. A lot of people don't make that kind of money in a month here. Even people who are doing quite okay, people who are training on a regular basis. So that's why we were talking about the memberships being so high. But yeah, I mean, UFC Fight Pass, thank you so much once again. We will be more than happy to get that membership and watch all the fights live on your channel. So yeah, so a big shout out to UFC and UFC Fight Pass. Having said that, you were just talking about Gordon Ryan. I mean, he is the GOAT, all-time GOAT. I mean, there's no one better than him. And
In Nogi, yeah.
And Nogi is the future. You know, I hate Gi because for good reasons. I have my reasons because Gi is a stalling fest. It's not exciting. If I've always talked about this before, if we want grappling to be making money, it has to be entertaining.
On a spectator sport, yeah.
As a spectator sport, people should be willing to watch you. So the number of eyeballs that we can attract through Gi is absolutely negligible. It's only the blue belts and above who are going to be watching it. But if you have to make a spectator sport,
Even blue belt and above don't watch it. I'm a prime
I hate it.
live case study.
I've not been doing Gi for the last 2 years and I'm more than happy. So yeah, I think let's talk about, because my friend here is the biggest Gordon Ryan fan. We've been studying a lot.
Only of his jiu-jitsu,
Only
I
of
have to
jiu-jitsu,
specify
yes,
that.
yeah, only of jiu-jitsu. So thank you, Gordon Ryan, because through your DVDs, we are trying to get our game up and hopefully also spread the word in a country like India and have someone from our country represent jiu-jitsu at ADCC someday. That's why Strangle is trying to send one person, the winner of the Pro Division this time, to Singapore and let him fight on the trials, which is going to be an all-expense paid trip. But yeah, Gordon Ryan, he's changed everything, bro. 7-figure salaries, that says a lot. What are your views on that?
I think it's a direct result of ADCC moving on to the Fight Pass, and probably they wanted Gordon as well as an exclusive athlete, and Flo knew that most of their sales or most of their views comes from Gordon Ryan fighting in their WNO flagship show. And if Gordon goes to UFC or is signed up by Fight Pass, then it will take a really big hit, because ADCC and Gordon Ryan are the two big things that people sign up to Flow for. As I said, nobody these days, or very little number of people, are watching the IBJJF events, and rightly so, because they are not exciting at all. Even their Nogi World Championship is barely exciting. So I think it was a move which came as a desperate move by Flo, but ultimately it profited Gordon, so no complaints about it. And it also sets a benchmark, as you said, for other athletes to demand more money. So kudos to Gordon Ryan for again pushing that ceiling for the grappling athletes, where now they can dream about asking a promoter for a 6-figure salary now, let's say that. Or even yesterday, I think he posted on Instagram about sponsors, and he said that next ADCC I'm going to wear my gear and I have 4 spots, and each spot is getting sold for 500k.
Wow.
So, which is something people never hear. If they get a free gear, that's like the best thing that happens to them, and maybe a flight ticket to the tournament. So I think he's pushing boundaries in the sport, and rightly so, because he is the hottest athlete. Not physically, I would say. I wouldn't judge him like that, but
I just got the joke, sorry.
but just in terms of spectators, viewing numbers, he is the one who sells his fights, who creates drama, who stirs up shit. Sometimes not very tasteful, but
he does get eyeballs to the sport.
yeah, and people do tune in to watch him, and he always gives us the most brilliant and the most pure display of jiu-jitsu which we could ever see. And his ADCC run in the past showed us that. Probably his last fight with Nicky Rod was not what we assumed it would be.
He was just partying with Jason Momoa, bro.
Yeah.
He was not training enough.
I mean, we can give him a break. He took a break in like what, 8-10 years, he said.
That was scary to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry to interrupt you, but jiu-jitsu athletes have been crossing borders, crossing boundaries when it comes to making money. Just look at the Rutola brothers. One championship, $50,000 prize money. Mikey Musumeci, I'm doing the same thing. So we've always discussed this. Why can't we have an Indian name there? And now because Anshul has broken that stereotype that Indians cannot fight, so hopefully some grappler from our country can do the same for himself or herself also. We're not being gender specific here. So yeah, Gordon Ryan, thank you for bringing so much of light on grappling as a whole, because it is going to trickle down to a country like us where grappling is still very, very nascent.
Yeah, and we saw the impact that Nogi grappling had in ADCC last time. Like they filled up a huge Mac Arena, Thomas and Mac Arena,
yes,
by 15,000 or 30,000 odd people.
Big shout out to Mojasim for making it happen.
So all these guys, they are pushing the envelope, as to speak, in the community, in the grappling, and we really appreciate the effort, and it's just going to go up from here.
Yes, and Indian Jiu-Jitsu is also going to grow. So yeah,
Talking about Indian Jiu-Jitsu, let me ask you. You just went for a seminar, right?
yes, I did.
And it was at Hillside.
Hillside MMA Guwahati. What a bunch of killers. I was
How,
there
how
for.
was the experience?
It was interesting because it was exciting because these guys have definite killers over there. Great coaches in David and Gogoi, fantastic strikers. So I was there because we study so much together. We teach a bunch also upstairs at our gym. So I had a few things that I wanted to show them, and there are a few questions that needed answering, and I was more than happy to answer that. Great tour, 2 days of intensive training with these boys.
How much pork did you eat?
Oh, I love pork. So my only demand was I reach there, I have a great place to stay and land, and the next thing I want to do is eat pork. So
Last time we were there for Strangle Guwahati, guys, the number one thing that Rajiv cared about right after Strangle was eating pork.
yeah.
I think even on that day when you reached, you ate
it's
pork.
just the place to eat. Even Shillong is
In
better.
North India, you cannot, sadly so.
Unfortunately, the pigs are too nice. So yeah, I mean, it was good. I think it is. We've always been. I mean, Piyush and me, at least, we've always been a very, very vehement supporter of Team India. We always believe that we cannot do this alone. We cannot have factions and think we can reach on top of the world. Practically impossible. 500 people do jiu-jitsu in this country. 500. And we are a population of 1.8 billion people. So we are not even a minority. I mean, the minorities will look at us and laugh and say, bro, relax. So our job, we've always talked about sharing whatever little we know with people who are appreciative of it. So it was a great knowledge exchange. It's not that I just went and taught everything. There were certain things that I learned about different aspects of the game too. So it was a 2-day seminar where we looked at a lot of takedowns, ground and pound, cage work. I hope our friends from Inside MMA can display that on the fight day, which a lot of guys are fighting on March 5th. So I wish them all the luck. And
Who do you think is the brightest MMA prospect out of that team?
brightest MMA, Manish Mahanta is fantastic. Gogoi is seasoned. He's also getting better at grappling, so he could be the next.
Is Gogoi a pro fighter yet?
Yes, he's going to debut on March 5th as a pro fighter, so that's going to be interesting. David, one of the coaches over there, the grappling coach and striking coach, is also a fantastic fighter. Other than that, we had one friend, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting his name. No, not from Abhijit. Jason. Jason is
Jason, yeah.
Jason Lindo.
What a cool guy.
What a cool guy, what a great fighter. And there are other kids also who are getting better every day. So yeah, I mean, if you're in the Northeast and if you want to train MMA and if you happen to be in Guwahati, Hillside MMA is the place to be. Big shout out to them for being such a great host when we were hosting Strangle. You guys made our lives so easy, so we really, really appreciate that, and our heartfelt gratitude to all of you. So, moving from the seminar, there is another great news from the UFC table: McGregor versus Chandler.
Yeah, so TUF is probably back with Brand McGregor, and do you see that fight happening though? Because the way McGregor sometimes shows up, sometimes doesn't. I don't know if the fight is going to happen actually, because I remember reading yesterday about it that the USADA has said that he's still not back in the testing pool, and they have like some sort of stipulation that you have to be in the testing pool for 6 months, and if you are not in the testing pool, you simply cannot fight. So I don't know if McGregor is actually going to fight, but even if we get to see him on TV in a TUF kind of reality show, I think it will be great fun. Him and Chandler will definitely have great banter. Chandler himself is a very well-spoken and very funny guy in that sense, where he can take it to McGregor in literal trash talking. So I think it's going to be a fun TUF, and anytime McGregor is there, you know the ratings are going to kill it.
Yes, I think it's good for the sport. I mean, he's such a big name in the MMA community even after his losses. Plus, he's a multi-millionaire now, so he brings all the right and the wrong eyeballs, but he does bring eyeballs to the sport, which means more money. So it's going to be interesting to find out. I really do not understand the concept of reality shows in Ring about fighters, but again, we've seen some big ass names come out of these contender series reality shows. But yeah, okay, Chandler, I like. McGregor, I don't know. So,
You know, our last reel that we posted on McGregor, probably not the last, but the reel on McGregor that we posted went viral.
yeah.
And it has like something 10,000 likes. But most of the people in the comment section were trashing us. They
Yeah.
are such big McGregor supporters that we point out one hole that he is roided, is this, is that, and they all just jumped at us. How can you talk about McGregor like that? You don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, guys.
And also a disclaimer. Okay, we are not claiming to be the authority in MMA and grappling in the world. We just
We're just two friends talking about MMA.
Two friends talking about MMA, sharing whatever we have
Yeah.
in our heads and just bantering
And
about it.
sometimes we will be factual, sometimes we'll not. We'll probably come and correct it. And if we cannot, big deal.
Big
guys.
deal, no
Come on.
problem. So if you, whenever you see a faux pas happening from us, it is definitely not intentional. But we're not trying to be an authority and say, okay, this is the kind of knowledge that I'm going to be passing on to you. These are things that excite us, and we're just more than happy to share it with other like-minded people. So yeah, that is about it. So I'm sure, like it or hate it, but we'll always be here. So it's up to you. So having said that,
Who do you have in that
Chandler.
fight if it happens?
Chandler,
You
without
think
a
so?
question.
I think McGregor is a great counter striker for a guy like Chandler.
Yeah, he's not been fighting.
Unless
He's not been fighting for the longest time.
unless Chandler uses his wrestling.
Yes.
Because that's McGregor's Achilles heel. We all have seen that multiple times. And I saw this, what's his name? Henry Cejudo's breakdown of McGregor's game. And he was like, he needs to improve here, because he has gotten a little bit out of pace in last of his fightings while he's throwing the punches when he's countering, and that has led to his demise in the ring, in the octagon. But yeah, having said that, I think let's go Team McGregor. I'm Team
I'm
McGregor
gonna
for this
be
one.
Chandler. Okay, our director is gonna say that it's gonna be auto cutting. So we'll take a small break again.
Yeah, we'll be back for the final segment.
Yes. All right, welcome back to the final segment of Rebel Radio. We've been away for a while, but we are more than happy to be back. So, Piyush, let's talk about our training, how we train at Rebel MMA India. Oh, I mean, Rebel Jiu Jitsu and MMA in Gurgaon.
Yeah, so I think you take care of the MMA team,
Yes.
where you are the striking coach, and you also take care of their cage work
And ground and pound.
and ground and pound. I have been teaching them the advanced jiu-jitsu class for the longest time. So why don't you start? What have you been covering in the striking batch, and how is the team shaping up?
Team is shaping up quite well because we have a lot of new guys. We don't have people who've already done MMA with us. These guys have been homebred, to tell you literally, even the girls. We just have Sahil, who's had a very decorative record, great fighter. But both me and Piyush were trying to help him fill his gaps. There are some voids in his game, in my opinion, that needs filling. So we're working on that. So I take care of the striking part. I am very, very, for lack of a better word, anal about good technique, more foundational work than flashy stuff that I know is not going to work. Because except for a few highlight reels, when was the last time we saw a 360-degree kick knocking people out? So we're still looking at basic combinations, good head movements, great presence of mind, distance management, a lot of footwork. Now there are also different ways to take people down, so I'm concentrating on trying to teach my friends takedown methods that are not very, very high amplitude, because I don't want them to waste a lot of energy while taking people down. Then obviously with me and Piyush, we do a lot of ground and pound. The Dagestani handcuff is a big part of it now, especially that we are studying scrimmage under Piyush, which we'll talk about. So ground and pound is great, controlling people more than anything else, not getting to a position like mount and just opening up your hands and getting rolled over, or even from half guard or guard positions where you can easily be summited, and also up stricken with very deadly elbows and whatever. So
What guys are you studying for your striking systems?
I've always loved Duan Ludwig. I think he's one of the best instructors available. After that, I've been studying Liam Harrison for striking because he's one of the greatest strikers and one amazing coach, if I may say so. Most of the ground and pound, I'm doing a lot of Grant. I'm forgetting his name, Greg Grant, and right now I'm just doing a lot of tidbits from scrimmage wrestling and some ground and pound by a lot of other people.
Total defense.
Total
and things like that.
defenses and all. If you are following us on Instagram, we try to put out a reel, not because we want to show off what we are doing, because we want to share the knowledge of what we're trying to do. And if anyone who is struggling from that position and is in a dilemma of where to look at, just look at what we are doing. You could have some kind of clarity, if not all. And if you want more clarity, me and Piyush are always open to helping our fellow grapplers and MMA fighters in the country. So just DM us. So after that, we just combine them. We train for 5 days, 6 days.
Yeah, let's talk about like the general philosophy that we have as a team. How to approach a fight, right? Now it's a given that you haven't fought an MMA fight, I haven't fought an MMA fight, but there are so many other coaches who have never fought, and still it does not have any mark on your potential to be a good coach.
Yes.
And that's what we have tried to do. We have tried to be as studious as possible, learn from the best minds available who have had fights, who have built these systems. We are not doing anything out of our own minds, but we are just bringing the best of the knowledge and trying to shape up the game and fill the holes as a set of our fighters in that specific area. And as you mentioned, those names, Duane Ludwig and other guys.
Buck Grant.
Yeah, Buck Grant. If you guys want, you can get their DVDs and do the same thing what we are doing, and that's the great way to learn. Like I was asking people around when I go for strangles, that how do you learn, guys? And most of them have a very common response that they learn from the YouTube. They watch a random video here, a random video here, there. Some people even said that they follow our reels, our contents, and which is very appreciative of them, and thank you for that. But the proper way to learn is to utilize the great minds who have done it before, who have seen it work at the highest level, and just try to emulate that. Try to see what fits your game, what doesn't, because sometimes not everything that you see will fit your game or your particular style. So I think our general fight philosophy is not to engage in a fair fight, right? Because if you engage in a fair fight, the thing is that your odds are even.
We are not mountain goats.
Yeah, we are not going horn to horn.
No.
So
I think this we've discussed it together. We want to take the game to the ground and minimize damage as much as we can, because most of the fighters are amateur fighters. So even if they have to go through a grilling contender series of any promotion, they have to fight 3 to 4 fights a night,
right.
or maybe 3 to 4 fights in 2 days. So if they start trading punches and locking horns, they're going to be concussed. I mean, they're going to
You'll be fatigued, you'll be concussed, and again, it will shorten your career.
Of course. I mean, nobody talks about it, guys. I mean, it's not manly or it's not brave to take a hit in your head and pass out and come back stronger. You do not come back stronger from a knockout. Your brain starts shutting you down because it is trying to protect you from dying. So please understand CTE. So today we had a fantastic scrimmage session. So why do you think the scrimmage is so important for modern grappling and MMA?
First of all, I would like to introduce the word scrimmage. It's not something again which I came up on my own. It's something that Dana and the crew at New Wave, former DDS, has been talking about for the longest time. And recently I met even Robert Deagle, and we were discussing about the same, that scrimmage is where the modern ADCC rules and MMA rules come into the picture. So basically, guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's once you start to learn wrestling, most of you just learn, okay, this is a simple takedown, a single leg takedown, a double leg takedown, but nobody talks about what happens post a takedown. So let's say you are in an MMA fight, you are prepared, you have done your striking class, you have done your cage wrestling class, you have done your wrestling class, And now you go to MMA fight, you take someone down, you have hit a fantastic double leg, but to your horror, you realize right after doing the double leg or the single leg, the other guy just pushes your head and just stands back up. And now you're like, oh, I gotta redo it. So you try to redo it. And this time you try to hold him tighter. But this time again he escapes. He just finds a way, wiggles his legs out and just gets out. And now you're again more tired, you're getting fatigued with those takedown efforts. And also morally and spirit wise exhausted. So scrimmage is what happens after the fight hits the ground, okay? So once you're on top, or even from the bottom position, when we talk about it in a converse fashion, you don't want the other guy to stand up. And in order to do that, you need certain important principles that you need to recognize, like trapping their hand, as you were talking about the Dagestani handcuff. So guys like Khabib, they popularized the system where once you take people down, you triangle their legs, the double turking or the double leg bind, where people cannot hip escape out and just pull their bottom leg and start a technical stand up on you. So you control their legs, and once you control their legs, you start climbing up their body, you go to the hips. Once you control their hips, you make sure that the hand post which allows them to bounce back up, you control that hand post with the Dagestani handcuff. And from there, you can look for either pinning possibilities or forcing a half guard or a full mount where you can actually go and dominate the fight, where you can launch a judicious ground and pound from. Even close guard, you can force close guard, because if you pin someone in the close guard in an MMA fight, you can dominate them from there, from standing up and then shedding some ground and pound. So I think this part of the wrestling game is not as popularly taught, and I think people are waking up to it as they watch Khabib and as they watch more of these Dagestani guys just absolutely maul people with it, where you don't need to finish 50 takedowns in a fight to win the fight and then just pray you get the back take in one of those and then you lock up a RNC or do something like that. You need to actually control each and every takedown once it happens. And then conversely, when you are on the bottom, you don't want to accept the pin, like strictly in a jiu-jitsu scenario, because in jiu-jitsu and in wrestling for the longest time, due to the IBJJF nature of events, once your butt hits the mat, it's 2 points. So if you try to again stand back up against a better wrestler, what is going to happen? They'll put you down again and then they'll score 2 more points on you, and this is how they'll build up the points gap. So what people used to do is, once they get taken down, they just accept the bottom position. Or if you're a guard player, you'll just pull the guard and accept the bottom position. And there was this unspoken rule, as to say, where if one person is playing guard, the other person is passing the guard. And you would stay on your back until you get a sweep and then get on top. Okay? And now the scenario has changed, where people have become so good at putting passing pressure that if you're on the bottom, they will exhaust you. They will get on top of you, and once they're on top of you, it's very easy for them to summit you, especially in the Nogi grappling scene. So now, if somebody takes you down under ADCC rule set, you do not score the takedown unless you pin someone's 75% of the back on the mat, maybe both their shoulders or 2 shoulders and 1 hip, or 2 hips and 1 shoulder. So that enables you to keep a hand post, stay seated up, and then still try to fight to get back up onto your feet, because again that will exhaust the other guy trying to hold you down, and you can take some risks where you can expose the back for a bit but not allow the back hooks where you will score the point, and then you can keep building up and getting up on top and then countering or evading from there. So I think this is a very important skill. We are still building up our own little system, studying from Danaher, studying from Craig Jones, studying from different guys who have been doing it for a while now, and even they are not developing this again on their own. It has for the longest time been a prevalent thing in the folk wrestling style, but in jiu-jitsu the dynamics becomes a little bit different, because now we have to be careful about the submission threat, which in wrestling they don't have. So they will do all these extra moves which we need to discard in the jiu-jitsu setting, because now there is a threat of submission as well. They can take you back and they can choke you while you are trying to escape. So it's a very finesse art, the art of scrimmage wrestling, and we are still trying to learn it. I think we did a couple of classes in
Yes.
the advanced section of the batch, and people are really getting good at it fast. They are understanding the concept.
I think it just builds on the foundation. If you've been wrestling for a while, or if you've been doing jiu-jitsu for a while, you know how exhausting it is to lay bottom sometimes. And also we've always been told never expose your back, because once the
Yeah.
back is taken, it's over. But today we were exposing our backs, getting up back on, and we're just trying to be a very difficult person to be taken down. So what happens in terms of a competition or a fight? Whoever's trying to pin you down with all his might is going to be exhausted, or the other person who's trying to get out from where using everything that he has is going to be exhausted. And once exhaustion sets in, your game starts diminishing. Then I can, as let's say, as the superior athlete I'm gonna try and impose my will on you and hopefully submit you. So we are trying to do everything that gets a game to the next levels, because like our dream is to produce trials winner and hopefully someday have someone like Anshul Jubli lifting up something in the ADCC World Championship. So our message to you guys, this elaboration is for you guys to study. Take all the time to study and take all the time to make notes and drill, because otherwise we'll be competing amongst ourselves and thinking we are the best.
Don't take it for granted what is being taught in your academy
Yes.
or what you're doing. Just observe the best guys in the
Yes.
sport doing it, because they are onto the next level thing.
Yeah,
Right.
and already thanks to resources like BJJ Fanatics.
Yeah.
I mean, Bernardo Faria has absolutely made it so convenient for us to just download something at a click of a button and start improving our game. So we wish you guys that you guys do the studying part, because let's become a nation of ferocious fighters, technical fighters more than anything else, and show the world that we are capable of representing our country on the highest levels. So, any parting words, Piyush?
I think this has been a great comeback podcast, guys. We'll be regular now. You can have our word for it. And yeah, if you have any questions or any topic that you want us to cover in the podcast, feel
Yes.
free to either DM one of us or the Rebel Radio India page, and we'll be more than happy to address it, to talk about it, and that also gives us more fodder to talk about, more
Yes.
interesting topics to talk about. So hopefully this thing now is a regular thing, and we'll probably see you very soon next week.
Absolutely. So this episode is going to be out on a Saturday, so please make sure you check us out. Definitely check out our YouTube channel. We are also available on all streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. So check us out there. Leave a comment or a message that helps us build a community. We just don't want stuff that you enjoy about the show or do not enjoy about the show, but things like you want to be a part of the show. If you think somebody should be a part of the show, the topics that you want discussed, we can be discussing about injuries, we could be discussing about insurance policies, not enough pay, branding for fighters and MMA athletes, and all that good stuff. So we want to cover all of that. But having said that, like we just said, it was a fantastic comeback for us, and we promise we'll be very regular. So keep following us and encouraging us to do this on a regular basis. And for all those people, once again, we are not sole authorities of the MMA culture in the world or BJJ culture in the world. We are just two friends chatting on things that we enjoy a lot. If you enjoy the content, like always, give us a thumbs up, comment, like, share, and all the good stuff. And until next time, it's me, Piyush, and it's me, Piyush.
And the camera.
It's
And the
me,
mics.
Piyush, and our
And
two
you guys.
and you guys saying all the best. Have a fantastic week ahead and a fantastic year ahead. Thank you, guys. Us.